Let's see here. I'm just going to use this to keep track of time. I like lose track of time.
Okay.
And okay, so Linda O'Neal.
Mm-hmm.
And when you what's your label or title? What do you use?
As far as
The words people say after your name.
like my business,
Would you say some people would say you know,
tarot reader.
yeah.
Yeah.
But you could also say owner of
Oh, I see.
therapy or
Yeah, I would say owner or founder of Austin Tarot Therapy.
yeah, and tarot reader.
Mm-hmm.
Founder.
Mm-hmm.
Therapy. So Linda O'Neal, founder of Austin Tarot Therapy
Yeah.
and tarot reader.
Right.
And then so Phil fails. Each episode, Phil fails at something. And when you think about what do you think I'd fail at with you?
Oh, Phil Phails. I don't believe it. Well,
So what failure means in the context of the show is really learns.
okay, yeah.
Learns about. They're kind of synonymous.
So I would say something that is like esoteric as tarot therapy or like woo woo as tarot, that it is actually concentrated therapy.
Phil fails at
tarot therapy. Phil fails at understanding therapy, or Phil fails woo woo therapy.
Phil fails at woo-woo therapy.
Yeah.
I got a handful of decks.
And I have my own decks as
whether
well.
you want to use the Marseille deck or the Wild Unknown or the Rider-Waite-Smith or like a Toth check. You can use yours too. I'll just put these close by.
Okay.
You want to
Yeah. I don't know why, but I would prefer to pull my own.
Why don't you grab them?
Okay.
Are they with you?
Yeah. They're in my cart.
Just put them next to you and
okay.
Look at you squeezing out of there like you're in some lasers. What kind of deck do you have?
I have about 4 different.
Heck yeah. It's woo therapy. Woo therapy. Woo therapy. All right. Got that mojo working. Cool. A little box.
Yeah.
Box. So, hey, you can swing. Okay, they're like laser beams.
Yeah.
Okay, so the format of this is kind of the first 30 minutes or so is Phil Phails 5 questions, and there'll be 5 questions about woo-woo therapy.
Okay.
And how
Mm-hmm.
the idea is that I'll learn stuff from you.
Right. Yeah.
That I can be influenced by and implement it into my own life.
Okay.
And through that, be changed.
Okay. Sounds good.
Yeah, experience is our teacher.
Okay.
And so the questions are kind of like in that spirit.
Okay.
And then woo-woo spirit. Yeah.
Yeah.
See that? And then after that, it's like an hour and a half kind of deep dive into you, your story, how you got to where you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'll explain it all.
Yeah, no. Sounds good to me.
You ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. Here's what we'll do. We will clap together. Hold on, let me just get this thing up a little bit. Yeah, can we clap at the same time?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Welcome to Phil Phails. My name is Phillip Jones, and today my guest is Linda O'Neal. She is the founder of Austin Tarot Therapy and a tarot reader.
Yes.
You want to wave to everybody? They're inside of that
Oh,
camera.
okay. Hello. Okay. Nice to see you.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited to spend this time with you. Today, I'm going to look at the camera again. Today, Phil fails at Woo Woo Therapy, which Linda, can I call you Linda?
Absolutely,
Is
please.
that what folks call you? You know, there's like this idea in the past of folks that did your type of job of being like Madam, whatever.
Sister Linda.
Yeah, different like
Yeah.
little things.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of stay away from that. I think that a lot of people are interested in tarot for a number of reasons. And I get a lot of scientists, educators, therapists into my trailer. And the reason why so many people are interested in tarot therapy or in tarot now is because our government has let us down, especially women. And sometimes a lot of people feel like their religion has let them down. But people still need faith. And so tarot cards are a wonderful way to kind of tap into your own intuition and finding your faith in yourself because especially with women and their intuition, it's been corroded over time. And men too, right? You know, because of capitalism or because of the patriarchy.
So that, hold on, I was wondering about the old school where people put like different you're talking about why you don't have a mystical or some kind of weird stuff around your name. You just go by Linda.
I go by Linda, and like long story short of all of that is that as soon as you start to put rules, like if the spiritual world, mystical world, woo-woo world has all of these rules, like you have to do it this way, then you are just actually doing the very thing that you ran away from. You know?
Yeah.
So I believe when we go into this woo-woo world of energy, that your intuition can be enough and that I don't have to call myself Sister Linda or Temperance Linda or whatever Linda.
Those were some of the names they would call Sister or Temperance.
Yeah.
Is it Madam or something?
Yeah. And so just call me Linda.
You're straight up Linda.
Straight up Linda.
All right. So, Linda, I'll ask you Phil Phails 5 questions about woo-woo therapy.
Okay.
And, you know, when I think of Phil Phails 5 questions, I think of failure and success a little differently. Like success is not a destination. It's not an award.
Right.
It's not, you know, the end of a journey. And failure's not something that you hide, something that you're ashamed of, or something that you have to avoid at all cost. But success is more like a direction.
Process, right? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, something that's working. Like to stumble upon, I've got inertia here and it feels good. There's passion. Also could be seen as flow.
Yeah.
Like flow state.
Absolutely.
And as soon as you get it, you might lose it. And then you're kind of looking for it again, much like a wayfinder or something like that. And on the left side, there's not failure. On that other side of the binary, there's actually like not doing.
Right.
So if you're doing, you're in some way looking for a direction of optimization or of, flow. And I call everything in between those failure or learning.
Right.
Or finding your way.
Yeah. Being adaptable.
Yeah. So I've often called what I'm doing here the fool's journey, which is
very, very, appropriate for tarot. The Fool's Journey is very big in tarot. It's the very first card in the major arcana. And so it's exciting. The Fool's Journey is very exciting, optimistic, a lot of fun. We can be naive, but that's the fun of it.
And the Fool is the character, right? That flows through the whole major arcana.
I like to call it the hero's journey, even.
Yeah, well, I love Joseph Campbell and the hero's journey. Yeah. I often quote those types of ideologies.
Yeah.
How we've got an experience outside of ourselves. This is one of them where there's characters. They open us up to experience and influence that allows for a subconscious churning or...
Well, you should be a tarot reader because really when you look at the major arcana, the characters, that's exactly what we're talking about. You have the Fool, which is 0, and then you have the Magician, and then you have the High Priestess. The Magician is your conscious mind. The High Priestess is your subconscious mind. And then next comes the emperor, the father,
Mm-hmm.
and then the empress, the mother.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the hierophant, which is the teacher. So like it is all about this journey, whether it be the fool's journey or the hero's
Yeah.
journey.
And
Yeah.
also archetypes. It seems to
Mm-hmm.
be like a play of archetypes.
Yeah.
I love it. So let's start from the beginning. How would I fail at woo woo therapy?
Well, not you in particular, but I think a lot of people, one, think that it's the devil's work,
Ooh,
right?
the
And so,
devil.
yeah, and it is not the devil's work. It is, unless you are the devil. I mean, because this is intuition, this is storytelling. And in fact, I teach a workshop called Storyboarding the Cards because it's all about like the narrative, and what you kind of get out of that narrative. So there is no devil or God in tarot. There is intuition, right? There are vices, there are obstacles to look out for. But a lot of people think that it's demons' work to ask about the future. And the thing is that tarot really isn't about the future, right? The tarot is really about what's going on in your present moment and then asking your spirit guides guidance on how to make choices that bedevil you,
Yeah.
you know?
So one way to fail at it would be to make it synonymous with some kind of
Cult or religion or
evil
yeah.
or some kind of negative thing or something to be scared of.
Right. It's nothing to be afraid of.
It's divination tool
Right.
for some folks.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, yeah. So if somebody looks at tarot as if, we're tapping into the occult in some way, I mean, you can if you want, but that's like your thing, right?
Yeah.
There are no rules in tarot, in my opinion. That's not how I divine. That's not how I read tarot. I read tarot in the present moment and maybe fast future. Like, okay, at this moment, this is what this situation looks like if you make this choice. And so often when people come and see me, they're like, I knew it. They often come in to receive validation on their own intuition, which they don't trust anymore. And they're like, I knew it, but they had a hard time, you know, kind of choosing between what they should do because their brain gets in the way of their intuition,
Mm,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing that comes up for me around tarot and the occult
Hmm.
is the Thoth deck, Aleister Crowley.
I love that. Yeah, it's a great deck.
And he was, right, the founder of the Satanic Church.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not tying any of these together, but it's interesting.
Well, I mean, when you look, and I got into a debate with this guy. He runs a modern school. That's all I'll say about that. About he's everyone wonders where tarot came from, and the truth of the matter is, it comes from everything and all things. You can date it back to, Italy with their deck, and I guess like they pronounce it tarot or whatever. He believed that it came from, Kabbalah, Tree of Life,
Yeah.
right? I believe that it goes even further back, because in Eastern cultures, they were divining, but they were divining through a regular deck of cards, which is how I learned cartomancy,
Yeah.
where we're still using cards to find wisdom. So to say it comes from just a Tree of Life or just the Thoth deck or from Italy, Italians, like it was a board game,
Like the Marseille deck.
yeah, the Marseille deck or the Italian version of it, or even like cartomancy or the Eastern versions of it. I think it's all kind of bullshit. I
There's a
think
both and.
there's a yes and
Yeah.
to all of it,
Yeah.
and not a definitive answer. So yeah, to your point, if you're just using like that reference, sure. You know what I mean? It could totally
Yeah.
be the occult, right? It's how you choose to use it. And so the way I see it is I like to take it off from, and I'm a Buddhist, so I like to use my Buddhist interpretation of how I see fit with the cards.
You're a Buddhist?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I've been, just as a small aside, I fail at philosophy
Mm-hmm.
with a professor. His name's Grant Potts. And we've been going through the big questions of philosophy, a book
Mhm.
and it's a comparative look at these big questions with Western philosophy on one side and Buddhism on the other.
Mhm.
And so I've been going deep into Nagarjuna
Mhm.
and Mahayana and
Mhm.
a lot of just like, it's been really mind blowing.
Yeah.
Emptiness
Yeah.
and non self, and, a lot of these philosophic discoveries and
Mhm.
contemplations.
My mother was a Buddhist coming from like I was born in Vietnam, but she wasn't a very good Buddhist. And I pushed back on Buddhism because I didn't like this idea of suffering, in my 20s. I was like more of a hedonist.
Mm-hmm.
And so because I didn't have good examples of Buddhism, wasn't really taught Buddhism from my mother, even though she, prayed to the Buddha incense and had all the statues and whatnot. Um, like I said, I turned away from it. I rediscovered it about, 10 years ago. And what really helped me with it was reading, Thich Nhat Hanh.
Thich Nhat Hanh, he's Vietnamese, right?
Right. And
Yeah,
so,
I love Thich Nhat Hanh.
yeah. And so one thing that he said really stuck with me in about Western Buddhism is that, Westerners take Buddhism so seriously. Like, it's not that what he's basically saying is that you don't need to cut off your roots of where you're from in order to become a Buddhist. You can incorporate your own Western roots,
Mm-hmm.
because to cut off your roots, like to go to the mountains and to just, wear the orange cloth and to become more Asian in order to become a Buddhist is actually not the right way to become Buddhist because you're cutting off your roots. So he wrote in one of his, like, I forget which book, but it was the 14 Principles of Buddhism for Westerners.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really, really kind of cool. I did a podcast about it, but I only got to principle number 6 because my tarot thing was taken off. But I hate the title of the podcast, but it was called Your Beautiful Self.
Oh,
I hate it. It's so
no,
awful.
dude, dad puns abide over here. Your
Yeah.
beautiful
Your
self.
beautiful
I love
self.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, like yeah, I mean Buddhism really has helped me more so with my mental health more so than NLP has. So
Yeah,
yeah.
Buddhism is wonderful. I attended the Plum Blossom Sangha here in town for a long
Oh,
time,
yeah.
which is the Thich Nhat Hanh
Yeah.
group, and really love Thich Nhat Hanh. He's definitely
Yeah.
a person that's meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
I've read a number of his books.
Yeah, such a wonderful teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question 2. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
That wasn't the question, though.
Okay.
That was the pre-question.
Okay.
Question 2B is, how would one succeed at woo-woo therapy?
Well, that's a really good question because, I'm really good at what I do and I make it
Mm-hmm.
look very easy. And when you go into the woo woo world for healing,
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's important to have some sort of background in helping people before you jump into the woo woo ness, right? And
Mm-hmm.
in healing. So I'm a master educator. I was an educator for 15 years,
Mm-hmm.
and then after the pandemic, I got licensed in NLP,
Mm-hmm.
got really like into my Buddhism and all, and then I had my life experience, right? But 15 years in education, I've worked with a number of different people. I say all that because I have been with woo-woo healers and I've left the room feeling worse about myself and not better. And so, when you go to like, the somatic healing or the Reiki or whatever energy healing, I went to one who was so off base, so awful that I felt disoriented and ugly for about a week.
Hmm.
And that is not a healer. And so I do think it's really important if you want to go into tarot reading, and I'd love to teach a class on it, how to deliver harsh truths with kindness, but also tools on how to deal with it, right? To give people hope. If people leave your session and they don't leave with hope, then you're doing something wrong.
So does hope come? So it sounds like success is,
When somebody has clarity, but they also leave with hope.
yeah, which is, I think of it as like revelation and awareness
Mm-hmm.
mapped to some kind of direction,
Right.
some kind of path forward,
Mm-hmm.
some illumination.
Right. And so I went to a healer and she said that, that that I wasn't really a nice person. I just pretended to be.
Oh my goodness, Linda, get out of here.
I know. And then that my husband was controlling and that we were having bad sex and that I was blocked. My intuition was blocked, that I had a demon inside of me, that she removed him. I know. I was like, and then I paid her $150.
That's a lot.
Yeah. And so, everybody who leaves my trailer leaves feeling better. And whether they got something off their chest, whether they had somebody to talk to, whether they left with hope, but if you leave somebody, you have to leave feeling better. Because here's the thing with woo-woo therapy. When you see a regular therapist, you see them on a schedule. So seeing a therapist and feeling kind of icky and like didn't like that session, you can go back and you can get clarification. They take your insurance, it's fine. But woo-woo therapy is way more expensive. Insurance, you're not taking insurance. They're not going to see you on a weekly basis. So it's a different type of therapy. It's concentrated therapy. You have to get to the root of the problem very, very quickly. You have to offer tools for their anxiety, and you have to be able to give them guidance so that they feel that they are in control and give them hope in one session, right? Whereas in traditional therapy, you have like years, months to kind of build that relationship with your client. So it's really important that if you're going to be into this woo-woo healing space, that you know what you're doing.
You know what you're doing. And it sounds like part of that is having a background of healing, which for you comes through a deep awareness and relationship with Buddhism, which is like spirituality.
Mm-hmm.
And then NLP, which is kind of some tools for navigating internal thought.
Right,
and
exactly.
anchors and how to kind of...
Which has and that's Buddhism as well, right? It's like in Buddhism, we call it mental formations, right? Mm-hmm. So, your thoughts aren't real. You're making them up. And so what NLP does is like kind of recognize the neural pathways, that it's like creating these limiting beliefs in yourself, mm-hmm. right? And how to break those neural pathways. And so, you know what I mean? Like having that kind of practice under your belt as you're reading tarot cards, I think is really important.
Heck yeah. It gives you more tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, success looks like someone that has hope.
Right.
And also the hope and awareness, a revelation, and then some opportunity.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Question 3 is, let's see. What are are there any like basic practices that I could invite into my life that are inspired by some of your practices or some of the things that are really important to you, whether they're like morning routines or ways that you... Yeah.
Okay. So I recommend, there's a number of things that I do. So,
you don't have to give up all your...
Oh, I'm going to give them all up.
Oh, give them up. Girl.
Yeah. Okay. So I do think it's important. I don't, if you are an anxious person, you have a lot of negative thoughts, I think it's important to dump that into a journal, right?
That's morning pages.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
I don't know, but yeah, I think just
journaling or
just thought. I call it thought dump. Just like the negative intrusive thought, not even thinking about it, like all these ugly thoughts, right?
Okay. So the ugly, negative, intrusive thoughts, get those out on paper.
Because, and here's the reason why, like in Buddhism and in NLP, it's all about awareness of those thoughts. And so if I tell you to divide 946 by 4, you could do it in your head, but it's a lot harder. But if you write it down, it's a lot easier, right? So thought dumping that. But here's the other thing. Like if you just dump like negative thoughts and you look through your journal, it's like, oh, I'm a sad person. What I want people to do, I want them to write 3 things down in addition to that, and they're very easy. One is, I am grateful for today.
Gratitude.
The what thing I did right today.
Mm-hmm.
And what thing am I looking forward to tomorrow? Yeah. Because those 3 questions can keep you rooted in the present moment and have a positive spin at the end of your negativity.
So what am I grateful for today? What did I do right?
What did I do right today?
And then what am I looking forward to?
Yeah.
It's kind of like this, first you bring awareness to all this kind of monkey mind
Right, exactly.
stuff that could be self-limiting or self-defeating beliefs that are rattling around. And the sooner we're aware of them, then we can say like, gosh, I need this. I know what to turn the volume down on.
Right,
And then you give yourself, oh, what to turn the volume up on, which is
exactly.
gratitude,
Right,
what, self-compassion, or like where you're actually crushing it, where you're doing
right.
well. And
Yeah,
then like optimism. What are you looking forward to? What are you excited about?
yeah,
Where are you going?
yeah, exactly.
What
Yeah.
else? This thought dump, is that what are another
So another thing that I
skills?
like, I do pray, and so it's another gratitude thing, but I say 9 things that I was grateful for in that day.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can't think of anything, I'm just like, then I'll say I'm grateful that my card started because I'm actually grateful that it did.
Heck
You
yeah.
know what I mean? So 9 things I'm grateful for, 6 things that I want for tomorrow or
Mm-hmm.
in the near future,
Mm-hmm.
3 prayers for people,
Yeah.
and then just like one, big picture, like desire, you know, and I do that every night.
It's kind of like, yeah, bringing gratitude, bringing,
But not being afraid to ask with what you want is when you like really say it out loud, it comes true.
that's something about telling the universe
Mhm.
so it can conspire with you,
Yeah.
whether you think it's conscious manifestation, whether you think it's
I
whatever, but like,
guarantee you, if you start doing it out loud, you will find that it works.
well, you start moving towards it
Yeah.
because it binds, I would imagine,
Mhm.
with your actions.
Yeah.
Like, there's that saying, I don't know how, it's like what you think becomes what you say becomes what you
Mhm.
do becomes your behavior or habits, what your habits become your character,
Mhm.
all that becomes your, you know,
Yeah, I have actually a worksheet about that because, like, you believe in vibrations and all of that. There is a vibration
you
chart.
just said that a certain way.
Yeah, yeah. Because
You don't believe in
I do
vibrations.
believe in
Why'd
vibrations.
you say it like
Well,
that?
I say it like that because I understand how goofy it sounds. You know what I mean? Like,
Vibrations.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I get, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's, sometimes our little woo woo world gets a little goofy,
I'll tell you this. I struggle with my woo woo side.
Yeah,
I'll like swing from being really woo woo. I got the
yeah,
Palo Santo
yeah,
to
yeah.
being like that's just a whole bunch of just baloney.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that's, yeah. And I think it's kind of funny. I think it's kind of fun to do it. You know what I mean? And I'm not taking my woundness
Too
super
seriously,
seriously,
yeah.
right? You know
Like
what I
Thich
mean?
Nhat Hanh said,
Yeah, exactly.
don't take it too
It's
seriously.
like it's not. It doesn't have to be that serious. It's
Yeah,
not,
tell me about it. What about vibration?
Well, yeah, okay. So if you look at this vibration chart, shame and guilt are the lowest vibration. And so I have some of my clients like they're intrusive thoughts. And so one would be like, I'll just do an easy one, like no one's ever gonna love me, like
Classic.
right, classic. So if you think this, then you believe that nobody's gonna love you. If you believe this, your action is going to act like you're gonna not give a shit, right? And then if you're acting like you don't give a shit, um, you know, like how are you feeling? You're feeling kind of like lonely, and then like
Apathetic, maybe not
apathetic.
engaged and
Yeah.
not
And so
participating
and
in
if you
life.
look, and then if you look on the vibration score, you'll see that is like very contracting vibration, and that you're not going to attract the thing that you say you want
Right.
because your
Because you're not
intrusive
acting
thoughts.
in a way that invites it into your life.
Yeah, your thoughts become your beliefs and actions or whatever, and then you're not going to manifest what you want. So um to so how do you change that, right? You challenge that thought, oh, nobody loves me, right? But that's a very untrue statement. Not only is it intrusive, but it's also wrong, right? And so what would be a better way of saying that? It still has to be true because not everybody loves you. You know what I mean? It can't be super positive and optimistic to where you don't even believe it, because then you're not really going to vibrate, right, the way you want to. So it might be like, um, some people some people love me and some people don't. And I feel in love because I don't have a partner in my life,
Yeah.
right? So if you believe if you think that, then your belief is, well, I just haven't found the right person. Right. And if you believe that, then your action is maybe a little bit like, I need to find the right person. So it's more action oriented. So just by simply saying, like, just changing it to where it's more true, doesn't have to be super positive, but like, not everybody loves me. And I'm feeling like this because I haven't found the right person, can raise your vibration. And, because it
Raise
raises
that
your
vibration.
yeah. It raises your action.
Raises your action, changes your actions, and aligns it towards what you want more of.
Right. Which is true.
As opposed to just like
right.
accepting or like
Yeah.
living in this world of self-defeating and self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah. Because your brain is lying to you.
Yeah. I thought of, when you said that question, I thought of Byron Katie.
Mm-hmm.
I would Byron Katie that. You know who Byron Katie is? She has this loving what is.
Mm-hmm.
She has, her structure is ask for, judge your neighbor, write it down, ask 4 questions and turn it around. And what she would do is she would say like, so this judgment is like, no one loves me.
Mm-hmm.
And you would say like, is that true? The first question is like, is that true?
Right.
And then you're like, okay, is that true that no one loves me?
No.
And then the next question is like, is it really true?
Mm-hmm.
Like, go deeper in that. Is that true? No one really loves you?
Mm-hmm.
And what you end up getting to, the turnaround is like, I don't love me right now.
Right.
Or I don't love anybody right now. You do these different variations on it.
Yeah.
What you realize is it's my frame, right? It's the way I'm viewing the world. It's my emotions. It's all these other things, but it's not really that no one loves me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I have power. I've got agency.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I love about NLP and I love about these different frameworks. It's ways to impact your thoughts and impact the way that you're showing up in the world.
Right. And I think that a lot of people, when they go to talk therapy, they get kind of tired of like, yeah, I get it. It's my parents. I get it. Like,
Totally parents.
Right.
That's the answer to all of them.
Yeah, I get it, But they're like, what do I do with that? I get that I'm traumatized. What do I do with that? And so I do think that some of these, like tarot or NLP, can move you in a direction where you have, like you said, agency, where you're not the victim, and then that you're moving forward. And that's what we want. We want to heal.
Yeah. Totally. So question number 4 is, so when you're doing it, you've learned how to fail at it. We've got some what it looks like to succeed, and then some different practices, the thought dumping and the prayer, and some idea around tuning vibrations.
Right. Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
Little thing.
Yeah.
And then so what is the fruit of all this tree when you nurture your tree like this, when you nurture your life like this?
You're watering the good seeds. You're watering the seeds that you want, And so if you want to go back, back to woo woo and full moon, harvest moon, new moon, and all of that.
Yeah.
The new moon is all about, I think, the time to think about what seeds that you want to water in that cycle. And then the full moon is kind of assessing, did you, when you watered this thing that you wanted to water, what did you need to plume in order to, like, what came out of it? If it's something that you didn't like, what do you need to prune? Right. So I think what comes out of all of this is, one, living in the present moment, which is very, very important if you want to be content. And the other part of it is, just acceptance. It's a wonderful thing to be just acceptance of who you are, loving who you are. And, I think I get a lot. It's funny. I get a lot of people who do the work and they're like, when am I going to be okay? And I'm like, never, like,
and always.
And always. Exactly. You know what I mean? It's like, it's all about managing your emotions so that you don't spin out of control. It's about, being happy with who you are, being happy with who you're with, because life is short. And so it's just really important to, be in the present moment, be happy.
Yeah. Be here now.
Yeah.
I get that. And then some level of radical self-acceptance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some level of, radical self-compassion. Yeah, I love that. And that all.
There's nothing worse than hating yourself.
Yeah. 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 Being your own worst enemy.
Mm-hmm.
One little tool that I remember from dialectical behavioral therapy, and
Mm-hmm.
it's probably used in a bunch of different things, is this. What do you think what kind of advice would your best friend give you right now about something?
Mm-hmm.
And it's this like invitation to get yourself on your side.
Right. Yeah.
Because your best friend's not going to say, "Oh, your dog poop and you should just pack it up because you stink and you're ugly and your
Yeah.
feet smell." They're
Yeah.
not going to say that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
They're going to motivate and support you and cuz you know what good friendship is like.
Right.
So why not apply that
Mm-hmm.
to why don't you be your best friend?
Right. Right. We don't know. And like it's uncomfortable. It's so much easier, and yeah. Radical acceptance is hard, for a lot of people.
Dude,
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah. Carl Rogers called it unconditional positive regard.
Mhm.
And it was groundbreaking when he started, and I guess other people were doing it around that time, this human potential movement.
Yeah.
The idea that, you accept behaviors,
Mhm.
you love the person
Mhm.
and you accept the person, and you don't make their behaviors equal to how much you can care about them and have compassion and empathy for
Right.
them.
Right.
And when we cycle that back on ourselves, have compassion and empathy
Mhm.
for ourselves.
Yeah.
That's watering that seed, like you were saying in the new moon.
Mm-hmm. And and seed, watership, and all of that. And I mean, it's a very Buddhist concept too. What seeds are you watering? What seeds do you want to water? What seeds do you want to, what plant? And once it's watered, what plant do you want to nourish? Yeah. I wanted to say something about what you just said, and I kind of forgot.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
We got this.
Yeah.
What I thought about with do you want to take some breaths and see if it comes back in a breath?
No, it's okay.
What I thought about this water and seeds, I automatically thought of this. You know that saying about the two wolves inside of us?
Yeah.
One is greed and one is anger, and the other one's love and the one is compassion, and they're fighting a battle to the death.
Yeah.
And then the last question is like, well, which one wins?
Yeah.
And the answer is like, which one do you feed?
Right. Right.
And I just thought, man, shouldn't we be feeding both of these dudes?
Well,
Shouldn't we have balance?
yes, absolutely. So, anger and guilt and shame are useless emotions only if you don't do anything about it. So, there is a place for anger
And sadness.
and sadness and guilt and shame.
And shame.
If it moves you, right? But if you sit in it, it does you no good.
Yeah, shame, I think, is a healthy tool for,
Motivation.
and for socialization. There's
Right.
things I do socially that I should feel some shame about, and then reflect on my behavior, and then come back into the group
Mm-hmm.
with new behavioral
Right.
change. And that's
Right.
self-directed.
Right.
That's intuition.
Right. Right. And so I'll give you an example of where guilt doesn't work. And it's people who believe they're empathetic, right? Oh, like what's happening in Gaza. And a lot of people, including myself, we go and like or other catastrophes that are happening where you feel completely small and useless. And or then you see the homeless camps and you feel small and useless, and it weighs on you. And it should, but if all you feel is small and useless and guilt and shame, and there's nothing that you're doing about it, then it's a useless emotion. Then it's not doing anything. It's just making your day worse, right? It's keeping you out of the present moment because you have a lot of privilege, right? I do believe that if you really feel that angry about some of these issues, then you have to do something. And if you don't do anything, that's fine. It really is. But don't waste your energy feeling guilt about it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Because your guilt is not helping the Palestinians. Your guilt is not helping
Homeless camp.
the homeless camp.
I might say this a bunch. It reminds me of this idea. If there's something that's tormenting you,
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself two questions.
Mm-hmm.
Can you do anything about it? If the answer is yes, do it.
Yeah.
If the answer is no, it's don't worry about it.
And if the answer is like, I wish I could, then still, like, but I don't have the time, then that is a can't.
Well, yeah, that's a can't. It's like,
Yeah.
can I do anything about it?
Yeah.
And then, what's the second question but both of them lead to like, don't worry about it. Can I do anything about it now? It's like, what are we worrying about? What are we focusing our energy and attention on?
I tell people all the time, your guilt does not make you a better person.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. And I'm not saying go in the world of like, I can't do anything about it, be callous about it. I'm just saying that your guilt does not make you a better person.
I'll get a 6-pack of water and take it to the homeless camp, or write a petition to our local government about Gaza.
Exactly.
Do something to release, because that makes the energy flow through you.
Exactly. Because then you feel trapped. You know what I mean? And then, if you ever see a caged animal, when you feel like you can't do anything, you feel trapped. If you look at a caged animal in a cage and it doesn't, it gets mean or it gets scared, and you have that energy live in your body, you have to release it,
Yeah.
So, and I go through these all the time with myself. Like obviously I'm not perfect, I have these battles and this inner dialogue, but I do remind myself, like, your guilt is not helping this person.
Yeah. Your guilt's not helping this person.
Yeah.
Question 5. So how do you come to this place in your life? And we're going to get to a deeper dive in the second half, but what do you get out of this besides the financial part of the exchange of energy? Like, how does this reward you, and how does this?
Well, I mean, I love helping people. And so, like I said, I was a high school teacher. I taught U.S. history and government, and helped run an internship with high school kids and the city of Austin. I really just enjoy like working with young people, and I really enjoy, the reason why I went into teaching is because I grew up in a really poor neighborhood here in Austin. And I saw a lot of my friends fall through the cracks because they got into gangs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they just didn't receive the opportunities. I got lucky. And there was just a lot of kids who should have gone further because they were smarter than me. And I just wanted to help, those kids. So I taught at, Aikens High School. I taught at schools that looked like my neighborhood, and I really enjoyed working with those kids, teaching them that the world is bigger than your block, and like to reach further, go further, And but then the pandemic happened, and all the things that are wrong with education are all the things that are wrong with education. But then when the pandemic happened, instead of getting creative, which was a lost opportunity, we doubled down on the shit that was not working. We just doubled down on it. Ugh. And I was just like, I cannot do this because, and then just all the crap around it. I just like, I can't do this anymore. And so during the pandemic, while we were teaching students online, I was also taking classes with, the INLP Institute, getting my certification, because I wanted to help people, but I didn't want to go, I'm 50, and I didn't want to go back to school and spend all that time and money to get a therapy license. And so this was a kind of a no barrier way of, I'm a life coach, and to help people. But I hated the term life coach and never got comfortable with that. How to live your life better. Never met a life coach I actually liked. So, that I trusted. They just seemed a little like goofy to me. And so I never was comfortable with that. I was doing tarot on the side to supplement my income as I was acquiring clients for my NLP practice, which is called Good Thoughts NLP.
Good Thoughts NLP.
Yeah. Yeah. And I still have that practice, and I'm listed under psychology today. But anyway, yeah, I started to find that I really enjoyed reading tarot. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed the concentration of it, like getting to the root of the matter so much quicker than traditional talk therapy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
helping people.
Yeah. I mean,
showing them something different.
Yes. Yeah. Trying to get people, I think, my belief system, because I started off as a young person wanting to change the world. And I realized that the only way I really can do that is by teaching people how to be mindful and self-aware and comfortable in their bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's 5 questions. Phil Fails 5 questions. You did
Yeah.
it, Linda.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a talker.
No, what do you
Yeah.
mean? Sorry, you're a talker.
Well, I mean,
This is about talking.
that's true.
I
Yeah.
need talkers. You're
Yeah.
doing great.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the part in the interview where I put down the pen and paper
Okay.
and we learn about Linda and kind of what brought you here.
Okay.
And before we do that, I like to kind of ground into the intention of this time
Okay.
and maybe do a fun game just to like reset
Okay.
because we're kind of doing something different.
Okay.
The things I tend to explore in this are neurodivergence, but not really. You know what? That's changing for me. I think it's more like ways folks feel separate from the whole.
Okay.
Ways folks feel excluded or unique or different or, just like an outsider
Okay.
and how that impacts them. Other things are like family
Mhm.
and parenting and, your primary conditioning occurred in the home. So I'm often curious about the home and how
Okay.
that impacted
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
The third thing is kind of how we define ourselves and how we redefine ourselves
Yeah.
in the form of transformations or
Mhm.
starting over occurrences, those type of events. And then philosophy, spirituality, and mysticism.
Yeah.
So all 4 of those are kind of like, that's like the thing I look at for,
Mhm.
what I think might be interesting to explore. And I think the whole art form is around an environment or a brave place
Mhm.
where we can realize authenticity, vulnerability,
Mhm.
honesty, and transparency about the human condition and the human experience.
Mhm.
Um, I normally at this point would play a game like an improv game where we could be silly.
Okay.
But I thought you brought your box of tarot in. I wonder if we
Yeah.
wanted to do a short pull
Okay.
to play around with tarot for a couple minutes. What do you think?
So,
Ooh, I love that deck. I've got the archetype deck.
yes.
I've got that
It's
one.
such a good deck.
It's a great one.
Yeah.
The Wild Unknown. She has such amazing illustrations.
She really does. Okay. So, I'm going to have you pull. I guess I won't do a reading. I'm not going to do a reading.
Improv it. Let's just have fun.
Yeah.
Let's do
I'm gonna
something short and fun.
Okay, I'm going to have you pull a card.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to just pull one from
Yeah.
the top? Or?
Mhm. It doesn't matter. It's up to you.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull this one.
Okay. Let's see what do we have?
I've got the Pilgrim,
Ooh.
number 20.
Well, this makes so much sense to me, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so as we're reading the pilgrim is not afraid to start something new. And this is exactly what you're doing, right?
That's right.
You are starting something brand new.
That's true.
Right, right. You're getting or you're trying to get out of your career, right? That is that a lot of people are trying to get out of, to do something that like feeds your soul,
Mm-hmm.
right? Okay, so I guess we are going to do a reading. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to pull a card. I'm going to ask the spirit guides to guide us on how to on success.
Success.
Yeah, guide us on how to be successful in this new thing that you're trying to do, right? Because you are a pilgrim. And I love pilgrims because it's the adventure, right?
Are those a bunch of different decks altogether?
Yeah, I use a bunch of different decks because
Ooh, I love it.
the reason why I do that is because, different artists have different interpretations of a card. Right?
So it's one full tarot deck, but it's intermingled with a bunch of different styles.
Yes.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh, that one. Oh, the magician just popped right out.
Well, that's got to be a part of this reading.
That is definitely a part of it.
Unless it's the
So
pull.
the cards are saying that you have all the elements that you need to make this successful.
That is so cool.
Yeah. So already you're starting out. You have all the elements you need to make this successful. So what else? What else can the cards tell us? See what this one is.
The magician.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It's one of the Jungian archetypes. I love when a card pops out
I do
too.
too.
It's like you just let me pull. You pulled yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'll do um, one more card.
Have everything I need.
All the tools you need. Cards. Oof.
Oh my goodness. What fell down there? Let's see.
Love.
Love.
Mm-hmm. This is the
Interesting.
soft card, right? Strength and Six of Cups. Look, um, what this is saying is that as long as you are, honestly, you have all the elements as you start off, as long as you're having fun, as long as you're loving what you're doing, you're going to be good at it. The Six of Cups is it's all about reciprocity, right? It's all about giving back,
Giving
right?
back.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so, I think that with the Strength card, it's taming the ego about where the outcome needs, you know what I mean? Like, don't worry about the outcome of it
Mm,
so much, whether it's successful, like you mentioned that desperate energy doesn't get us anything.
I
Right.
know. And worrying about where the money's going to come from, or
Right.
worrying about how to
Yeah.
monetize it, all those things can
Yeah. So,
stagnate or change the
yeah.
creative passion.
Yeah. So this is kind of like taming that ego part.
Mm.
Okay. Or,
Dude, let me see that. That is a beautiful card.
mhm.
Yeah. Say more about that. She's like a mouse. She has a mouse costume on and she's holding a lion.
Yeah. Hmm.
Taming that ego that kind of wants to protect you. It wants you to thrive, but it can do it in such a haphazard way that it doesn't focus on all the fun and play and all the creativity that really is
Hmm.
required for art.
Right. And then also you said and a mouse, when you think of a mouse though, it's also maybe the lion kind of coming out and protecting the mouse a little bit. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Because
yeah.
mice are little creatures. They're very nervous. They're very, busy like. And so when your brain starts to kind of get busy or when you start to get restless, the lion, that's when it is time to bring out like, hey man, you got this. Like bring out the lion in you. So the lion and the mouse they work together. They,
Wow.
yeah,
Okay, Linda.
yeah.
So now you've done that energy and did a small reading for me or a big reading and I think that's a wonderful and appropriate reading. I wonder how we can do something fun for you to ground you into this space.
Okay.
Let's do an improv game.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Would you let me lead you for a second? I'll let you pick. You can either play sound ball
Okay.
or you can play mirror cat.
A mirror cat.
You want mirror cat?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a cat in front of a mirror.
Okay.
You are the mirror.
Okay.
And at some point,
Mm-hmm.
meow,
Meow.
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 At some point, you're a cat in front of the mirror and I will mirror you. And we won't tell each other
Okay.
verbally when that happens, but
Okay.
we'll know because
Okay.
we're intuitive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
um.
That's fun. That's fun. So just a little invitation into the silly and the
Yeah.
goofy,
Yeah.
lightheartedness,
Mm-hmm.
levity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we'll start at the beginning
Okay.
in our exploration of Linda, and that starts with where you were born.
Yeah. Vietnam.
You were born in Vietnam.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I'm a war baby. My dad was an American soldier. My mom, Vietnamese, and they fell in love with each other in Vietnam.
really?
Yeah.
During World War II or
No.
during the Vietnamese War?
Yeah,
Oh
during
my God. What am
Yeah.
I thinking?
That's okay.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
War
the
in
Vietnam
Vietnam.
War.
Yeah.
War in Vietnam. Yeah. Yeah. And then like he brought me over and they live happily ever after. No, I'm just kidding. They didn't. But
Did your mom come too? Did your
yeah, yeah,
mom and
we both came over and it was not easy bringing us over, but we were able to come over. We ended up settling in Austin.
how old were you?
I was a year and a half old, so I don't know anything.
Okay.
And there weren't a lot of Vietnamese people in Austin in
I
1975.
can imagine.
And so I just think that I didn't get to learn the language. My mother didn't teach me. She didn't teach me anything about the culture because she really believed that if we're going to come to America, we needed to be an American.
Really?
Yeah. So, like, yeah, I didn't learn a whole lot. I wish I had, though. Yeah. It was a bummer.
So you didn't learn the language. You moved over here when you were a year and a half. You came with your mom and your dad.
Yeah. Then they had my sister. And so we lived in this tiny little apartment on Plaza del Norte, 7929 Galt Street, and not too far away from here. But it was a pretty rough neighborhood.
Plaza del Norte, that's on the east side?
No, it's like Anderson Lane, Hobby Lobby. You know where Laugh Stop used to be, or I guess the comedy club?
Hobby, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I know
So
exactly where
those
that is.
apartment complexes.
Okay, that's not far from here.
Yeah, that's not far from here at all. And my mother, somehow she became the apartment manager there. And as a Vietnamese woman, she didn't understand occupancy laws. And so we were renting to people, immigrants who had 10 people in their family to a 2-bedroom apartment. So word got out, and I swear we like drove all the white people and black people out of the neighborhood because it once was like, mostly white and black people, but now it was mostly like it just became mostly immigrants, like Mexicans, Guatemalans, Cambodians, Vietnamese.
Because she was lax on the laws and allowed a bunch of people to live there.
Yeah, yeah. And so you had kids selling tamales door to door.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, and then kids from the Gulf selling shrimp. You had people hanging their meat outside in the parking lot for it to dry.
No way.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a very like we changed the neighborhood for sure. That's why I think that we have such a huge Vietnamese population in that area. I went to Lanier High School, and or Navarro High now, but yeah, because like word got out that my mom was renting to big families.
And now we have Ranch 99
Yeah.
and this whole collection of
Mm-hmm.
of Asian food
Mhm.
options over there.
Yeah,
Wow. So your sister's older?
I'm
Younger
the
than-
oldest.
You're the oldest.
Yeah,
How much later did your sister come along?
about a year later.
A year later.
Yeah, so she was born in El Paso, Texas.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
was before y'all got to Austin. Y'all were in El Paso. a little
Yeah,
bit?
El Paso, then San Antonio, then Harlingen, and then in Austin.
So were you traveling because your dad was?
He was in the military, but I think he was really disenchanted with the military. He was like he wanted to be an American hero. John Wayne was his hero, and then he went to Vietnam. He realized that he is no John Wayne, and that the war was not what he thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
yeah, and so
He got disenchanted with the military and with,
yeah, yeah, but he served 2 tours, mostly to bring me back, and yeah, yeah.
and then he married your mom.
They got married, and I think that he was an alcoholic because of the demons that he didn't realize he had PTSD,
Of course.
and he didn't realize that until like his until he turned around 60 that he was suffering. But he died about a year and a half ago,
Mm.
because of alcoholism. He drank himself to death. So he had a lot of like stuff that he needed to work through, and he just never had the ability to do it. So, yeah, he just went through a lot, as my mom did, because she was in this country all alone, barely spoke English.
She taught herself English.
She taught herself English by working at McDonald's and watching Sesame Street, and she took courses, of course.
Goodness.
Yeah, so, but she was able to do a lot in this country, and she's the most patriotic American that I know. And she hates to see it go down the tube with Trump, unfortunately, because she feels like she keeps calling Trump a communist. And because, in her world, a communist is a dictatorship,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and I'm like, no, he's a fascist, but like same, but different, So, yeah.
What was it like? So you're a first generation.
First generation. Yeah.
What was that like? The thing that came to mind was like, were you Did you have shame of your mom when you were in school, bringing people home to your house?
I had a lot of shame being Asian, which is like, okay, so race in America is so interesting that I've had all my life people tell me what race I am. Like people don't allow me to choose, right? So and I'll explain like when I was growing up, because I was a mixed race child, I looked more Asian. And so I did get all the names called Chink and all of this and whatever. Um, so I feel like I earned my Asian card, you know? And so growing up, I was a little embarrassed to be Asian because I really wanted to be Black or Hispanic, you
You
know,
wanted to be Black or Hispanic.
because I grew up in a Black and Hispanic neighborhood.
You wanted to be fit in.
I wanted to fit in, right? And so, yeah, so I was like, I remember going, I was like, I think it was like 10. I was like, okay, my first choice would be Mexican because nobody's picking on them. I could be Black. White, maybe, but it depends because you don't want to be a nerdy white kids. The white kids were getting picked on too. And I was like, oh, but Asians, man, we get it the worst. And so I wanted to be a dominant race, which in my mind at that time was
Mexicans.
yeah, you know, because I grew up in a Mexican neighborhood, to a school primarily, mostly Hispanics and African Americans, some whites too, because we were doing busing at that time. But yeah, but then I get older and go to college, and all of a sudden, all of my friends are white. Like and then I, get a career, even teaching, and even though there's like, it's probably more diverse as a career than a lot, more diverse in software engineering, I would imagine, you know. But still, all of my friends were predominantly
Where'd
white.
you go to college?
Texas State,
San
and then
Marcos.
yeah, and now people they used to ask me what are you, which I actually miss that question because people just call me white now, and I'm like, well, no, I'm not. I earned my race, but and I get it because I'm white passing and whatnot, but I remember I was on a school bus, and people always wanted to know my race. And I think I was in the 5th grade. And the bus driver was letting us off the bus based on race. She was an African American woman. And so it is really funny because we're going through busing at this time. So this is like early 80s. Yeah. And she was like, okay, all the black, and this was on the east side. And so she was like, okay, all the black kids off first, then all the Mexican kids. And then
it's just like waiting.
yeah, and then
all the white kids, you're like, well, I'm still waiting.
yeah, and then I didn't know when to go.
When to go.
Yeah. Do I go when I'm like when she says all Asians are all white, and then she was irritated. She was like, well, what are you? I'm like, well, my mom's Asian, my dad's white. She was like, it's what your dad is. So whatever your dad is, that's your race.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard that's not the first time I've heard. It's whatever your dad is your race.
Really?
I heard.
I would think it's like if it's what your mom is.
When I was younger.
Actually, you know what? I would think it's like whatever the heck you think it is.
Right. And so I always was interested in, I grew up really interested in race relations in America. Like I was fascinated by it because of these experiences, not to say that I had it like, that I was deprived or anything like that, but I did notice that there was a structure here. And that, like, when I first went to, it was L.L. Campbell Elementary. I remember when I was first going, my dad sat me down and he said, I know that we're not rich, but we're going to be going to a school with kids who have a whole lot less than you. And I didn't know what that meant. You know what I mean? Because I didn't, and, but it was just interesting. Like having, like, I still, even in the because like you see power differently as a kid. You don't see power in money or status, or at least I didn't at that time because we all felt like we were poor. But, and then reflecting on those experiences in the race structure and the class structure and the power structure, it's fascinating to me, So when I brought that into my history classes, I really enjoyed teaching history, teaching it from all side points, teaching, I guess they would call it critical race theory, but it's just teaching history, right? It's just teaching it from the winner side and teaching it from those who weren't seen as the winners at that point, like our perspective, you know?
Is there a way you could tell me what critical race theory is in like a short, like an elevator pitch on
Well,
it?
I guess there's a
I've only heard it spoken in a really polarizing way.
yeah.
Some people are like no to it, and some people like, is there a way to understand the concept of it?
I think that critical race theory, the on the right side, what they're hearing is that all white people are racist. That is not critical race theory. I think that critical race, as I understand it, is this that the laws that have been implemented over time have a power structure to them where it kept a group of people down.
Systemic racism.
Systemic racism,
Yeah.
right? And so, systemic racism is real. There were laws passed, like,
Yeah.
and to deny that, and
There's the red line in Austin, right? It was redlined where only
yeah,
certain people could live, what was it, west of 35, and certain people could live east of
like
35.
the 1925, and that's Clarksville used to be predominantly black neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then if they didn't move, they discontinue services. So like there is an inherently a racist system that we live in, and I think that that's really hard for people to understand. And I'm not saying that like I just think that's a fact and not up for debate.
Yeah.
Everything
is part of this context we're in.
Right.
And race plays a role in.
Race plays a role in everything, and that's like really hard for, I think, your Generation X as well.
I was born in 77.
Okay, so we're Generation X.
Okay.
And so Gen X is all about, being colorblind and the Benetton commercials and whatever. And that was a lie. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like we thought that we were so advanced. And then when the O.J. Simpson trial happened, I was like genuinely at that moment shocked that
Yeah.
by the reaction from Black Americans, not realizing how corrupt and how inherently and set up and designed our laws and our Constitution is racist.
Yeah.
So critical race theory to me is kind of teaching that, but not so that you hate your country, so that you understand that your country needs to evolve.
Well, there's holding accountable.
Yeah.
There's this, you love something, you hold it accountable.
Right.
You ask it,
Right.
you air grievances.
Right.
It's not about your bad, shame.
Right.
Only the amount of shame, like we discussed earlier, the amount that will bring positive change.
Mm-hmm.
Come back socially to do better.
Right.
To be more, compassionate, empathetic, more fair.
To live up to the very things that we say that we are, to be the city upon a hill.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so that's okay. And like when I taught history, his story, right? When I taught his story, I really wanted my students to know that I want your story told in this as well. And most of my students were, Black and Hispanic.
Yeah.
So no wonder they're not interested in history if you're always teaching the white perspective, because the white perspective.
Where are you in it? Yeah.
And it's not like we're going to change the story or shame white people or make your kids uncomfortable. That's we evolve, and there's no country out there that is pristine.
Right. Well, there's no human being that's pristine.
Right.
This human life is messy and it's imperfect, and it's and looking at ourselves.
We are the devil, we are the angels.
Yin and yang.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the Vietnam conflict, right? You can really easily look at the footage and really be ashamed of the American soldiers' behavior. But then when you look at after the war, the Cambodia and what happened, what the Vietnamese
Khmer Rouge,
the Khmer Rouge, right?
Yeah.
It's, you know what I mean? Like, we all have blood on our hands. And the story is not they were evil and they were good. My mother has beautiful stories of American soldiers who were just lonely and sad and crying on the streets because they didn't know what they were doing there.
Yeah. I think of Thich Nhat Hanh's poem, Call Me by My Name.
Yeah.
As we're talking about this,
Mm-hmm.
there's, I am the, he goes through how he is all of these people.
Mm-hmm.
He is the farmer in the field. I'm paraphrasing.
Right.
He's the criminal, and he's the priest, and he's the poor person, and he's the rich person, and he's all of the characters, all the archetypes in our world.
Yep.
And it's this haphazard set of circumstances that brings us to arrive at this present moment in whatever ego form we have.
And then it is, again, going back to, who do you feed? What archetype do you want to feed? If the hate and all of that's, or that, you don't want to feed the evil side of yourself. And so it's good to be aware of when you have thoughts that you're not proud of and not to water those thoughts.
Yeah. For some reason I keep thinking, yeah, but I don't want my evil part to be too thirsty.
Yeah.
Not to say I don't want to starve it, because then starving people do weird stuff. So I want to have that balance. It's that middle way. It's the Mahayana, the middle way.
If you go into the woo-woo world, it's called shadow work, right?
Yeah.
It's like acknowledging, like, okay, we have our shadowy. Yeah.
Get it out in front of us.
Yeah.
I see you.
Mm-hmm.
I see you. I'm going to put you out front.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to hide you so you can do dirty business in my subconscious.
Right. This is who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, so what kind of work did your dad do? This is a little segue.
Well, okay, so my father, he used to say, like, I'm no quitter, because he always lost his job.
He did.
Yeah, he could not keep a job.
He couldn't keep a job. What kind of jobs did he try to keep?
I mean, he delivered coffee. He delivered magazines.
He delivered coffee?
Yeah, he delivered coffee, magazines. He worked for Cane's Coffee. He did a stint at Dell. He really liked that work there. He did a lot of different things, but alcoholism and depression kind of keep you from, actually
PTSD.
Yeah.
Just call it what it is.
Yeah.
He was probably self-medicating with alcohol, keeping demons at bay and navigating a lot of mental health challenges.
Yeah. Yep. And I think ultimately the pandemic ruined him, because he was starting to get some money, finally filled out the paperwork for the VA. It was making more money than he'd ever made before. And then just didn't know what to do with himself, But yeah. I mean, he was a good man. He had a big heart, but he also had his demons. Yeah.
So it seems like was he the breadwinner? Was your mom a stay-at-home mom?
No,
your mom was working too?
My mother was working 2 jobs, and finally when
she was the breadwinner.
She was the breadwinner. And finally when he left, I think she was really scared, but it was actually a good thing. And he left and she worked 2 jobs, and raised 2 daughters. And then it got really, really hard for her because, like, I'm an American teenager. You know what I mean? I didn't really understand.
I
had a Camaro. Like, I was,
You had a Camaro?
Yeah.
Yeah. Problem.
Yeah, Camaro, listening to Bitching Camaro by the Dead Milkmen, all of that.
Yeah.
I wanted to be like super popular or whatever, but I wasn't. But I wanted to be a teenager, and I didn't really care about, like, the struggle,
Yeah.
Which was really hard on my mom because we had 9 people from Vietnam immigrate to live with us. And I don't think people understand how hard that is, because maybe 9 to 11, it was 11 people, that you have to make sure as a host family that they have jobs and a car and a place to stay. And it doesn't come, like, they don't come immediately. So in addition to taking care of 2 girls, working 2 jobs, being a single mom without an education, never making more than 30 grand a year, we had to pay rent for 2 more extra apartments and have 2 cars ready and jobs ready for the 11 people.
Whoa.
Who were going to be coming.
Were they family members or
family members? Yeah. And so she didn't, and that was a 2-month, like, for 2 months, like, nobody was in those apartments. Right.
Really?
And so, yeah, I mean, it's a, like, it took 20 years, but then, like, when they're coming, you got to make sure you have all of these things. And so, You have these things. Okay, we got him. And then you're like, well, okay, it's going to be another month. You're like, what the fuck? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
then they all came, and I don't know. Unfortunately, like my mom took care of them. She wasn't sleeping at all. Like she was sleeping maybe an hour to 2 hours a day.
What?
Yeah, and then she had this loser boyfriend and two like teenage daughters, and nobody was helping her.
A loser boyfriend?
Yeah, he sucked, and we all sucked actually, and
She was just surrounded by
people who weren't helping her.
yeah, and it sounds like she was doing a lot to keep everything afloat.
And we're like, why isn't she happy? She's always in a bad mood, like
2 jobs.
yeah, and all like taking care of like now like 13 mouths to feed. That her body completely gave up on her, and and she got rheumatoid arthritis, where like she's been disabled since like I think the age of 42.
She's still alive?
She's still alive, and she's like very, very like she's tough, but
Hell yeah, she's tough.
she's been through a lot, but it's like so interesting that if you push your body to that limit where you just give everything, that your body will give up on you. And that's what it did to my mom.
What's her name?
Mimi. Her real name is Mydung, Mydung.
My
Yeah, but then she realized what that meant in English, Mydung.
My poop.
Yeah, so she was
The
like,
poop that I own.
yeah, so she's like, just call me Mimi, so yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Mimi.
Yeah, so
What'd you call her?
call her mom. I would call
her mom.
Yeah.
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 And your dad?
My dad, I called him dad. I tried calling him Greg once. That did not go over well.
He's Greg.
Yeah. I said sir once. He's like, don't call me sir. I mean, he had a real problem with authority.
I mean,
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
What? So a Camaro and listening to Dead Milkman, I kind of get this vibe of you as maybe a bad kid.
I wanted to be, but I had a strict mother, so I could only be bad in the scope of like an Asian mom.
But what was bad like for you?
Well, okay. So I still had to make good grades, but I wasn't making good grades.
What is good grades? Like all A's?
All A's, but I wasn't making good grades. So what I did was I took my report card, Xerox copied or made copies.
Oh my God.
Took an X-Acto knife.
Yeah.
Turned my 69s into 96s. And then I was like, and they were like, why didn't you get into a good college? I don't know. Racist. I don't know. Yeah. No, I don't know.
Critical race theory, Mom.
I don't know.
Come on, Mimi.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so I would do things on the sly that like that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so because they thought I was getting good grades.
Did you ever get caught?
No.
You didn't get caught.
Okay, one time. I did get caught because I thought I was so clever because me and another guy, his name was Bruce, we would steal exams from the teacher's desk.
Oh my goodness.
And then we would like sell the answers.
Nice. You and Bruce had a little
We had a little
racket.
thing going, a little racket going. And
how many people were buying these answers?
I mean, and it was more the thrill of doing it.
How much were you selling these answers for?
I don't even remember. I wish,
$5, $10.
Who knows?
Nickel bag.
Maybe, but I did get caught by a Spanish teacher, not once, but twice. And so this is back in the day where like, they gave you, I failed Spanish. Like I didn't get the credit. In AISD, that would never happen. You don't fail kids here. If your kids are failing, by the way, in AISD, your kid sucks. Okay. Your kid is doing absolutely no work at all.
They'll let folks pass.
They'll pass anybody. You're not allowed to give a 50. I mean, you're not allowed to give a 0 if they do nothing. You have to give a 50. Last time I checked. Or if they would say that's not true, I would say administration would strongly encourage you not to give a 0. In fact, I don't know anybody who actually does.
I think I heard one of my daughters goes to McCallum, the other one goes to Lamar.
Yeah.
And I think I heard one of them say that they got a grade in the 80s and they said it was an A. And I was just like, what? I didn't make
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. 90 to 100 was A, has always been an A in my world. 80 to 90, 80 to 89 was a B. 70 to 79 was a C.
Makes sense to me.
And then, 60 to 69 was a D.
Yeah, so I don't know.
And below 60, you failed.
Right.
You got an F.
Right. Yeah. Failure is learning.
Yeah.
We don't fail kids anymore.
You didn't fail any classes? Oh, you got that 69 though.
Oh,
You
yeah,
got that
we
D.
did plenty of classes.
You got that D plus
Yeah, no, I mean, no, I got a 0. She gave me a big old fat 0
in Spanish.
in Spanish.
Oh, you were selling them grades.
I was selling them
answers.
grades. Yeah, so
What happened
she
that?
wasn't having that. Yeah.
No, I.
Mm-mm.
No, hay nada aquí.
Yeah,
Way.
I thought it was so slick. I thought it was like, I was looking around. Like, I remember I was looking around. I was like, oh man, these suckers actually really trying. I'll tell you what, though, that 0, when I finally got to college, I never cheated. I was like too afraid of getting caught. So failure is good.
Yeah, you learned from that experience.
Yeah, we need to fail people.
Bruce.
Yeah.
Were you and Bruce romantically connected?
No.
Just criminal. It was just criminal
Yeah.
enterprise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha.
When I was in the 6th grade, I guess I was just kind of like an entrepreneurial at heart. Because you remember that book, Forever by Judy Blume?
No. Judy Blume wasn't necessarily.
Well, it's a hot and heavy book.
Okay.
You know, she talks about like this girl's first time and like
my
it's
God.
like it's hot stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I would sell, you would get 20, you could read like for 30 minutes, you could read it for 50 cents or something like that.
You would do that.
Yeah.
You had Judy Blume and you were selling. You were selling reading.
I was selling reading, but it was dirty. It was dirty stuff. You know what I mean? It was about her getting her
can
nipples
read this.
hard.
So this is like the
This was
romance novels. Yeah.
but you know,
yeah.
12 years old. I remember my teacher picking up. She's like,
Yeah.
"You guys are way too young reading this." But I made about a couple of bucks doing that.
At least people were reading.
I know.
That's what we need.
I guess.
Was your sister getting in any trouble? Was she a good kid?
No,
Bad
she
kid?
was perfect.
She was perfect. She
No,
was the second one.
She wasn't actually perfect. She was not perfect. She had it a little harder than I did.
Why?
I think she was tougher. You know, she was like stubborn, you know.
She was stubborn.
Yeah.
So she was more like Greg.
I'll give you an example. Okay, this is back in the day when you got spankings and stuff, right?
You guys got spankings?
Yeah. I didn't because I ran. You know?
You ran away.
I ran away. And then when they caught me, before it even hit me, the anticipation scared me so much. I was screaming like they were going to murder me, you know? And so I didn't, like, they barely touched me, you know what I mean? Because I was screaming so loud, you know?
My goodness.
My sister, stubborn. My dad was spanking her with a belt, and she turned around and she said, "That didn't hurt."
Oh my God. That's not what you say.
No. What do you think is going to happen next?
He's going to try to hit you harder.
He's going to try. And every time he hit her harder, she said, "That didn't hurt." So he put the belt down, got the hanger, and whipped her with that.
Oh my God. Greg, no, sir.
She didn't say that didn't hurt, but she still didn't cry. So that's how tough she was.
I mean, you call it tough, but I just think that's. What? Yeah, you're whispering that.
Yeah, I don't want her to beat me up. Yeah, no, but yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want her to beat you up either,
Yeah.
Linda.
Yeah, she's my younger sister, but I'm afraid of her.
Oh my God, she's tough.
She's very tough. Yeah, yeah. So she had it harder because she was stubborn, you know. Yeah. I remember she got hickey when she was 12.
A hickey?
Yeah.
When she was 12?
Well, I mean, I grew up in a Hispanic neighborhood. They moved a little faster in that area. So, yes.
Things moved a little faster in the Hispanic area.
I mean, just, passion. I don't know. But
it's a romantic
culture,
yeah.
Right? And so but she had a hickey. And I remember my mom's boyfriend was like, "Why did you do that? What is wrong with you?" And she's like, "Because it felt good."
That's an honest answer.
I know, but I was like, damn.
Dang, spitting the truth.
Yeah. Damn. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she had it harder. She also got boobies bigger because she got it from my dad's side, the white side. And, a 13-year-old girl with like C's, and it's a different world for
Trying to
her.
get attention.
Yeah. So she had it a lot rougher than I did.
What brought the discipline? So discipline seemed like it was spanking.
Mm-hmm.
Did your dad give it, or did your mom, or was it both?
It was mostly my dad, but he didn't do it often, right? And so it wasn't like we were, he would like snap the belt as a warning or put, you know what I mean? Because
My dad did that too.
yeah, so dumb, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it had an
It
impact.
had an impact, right? And
That's
yeah.
snap.
Yeah. I was like, okay. I it got my attention. Um, no, but
What kind of things would you do to elicit that level of response? Because I think that's like corporal
this kid's
punishment is like the highest escalation.
honestly, it's just nothing. I just think we were yelling at each other. My sister and I fought all the time. Your parents are tired, they don't want to put up with your shit. And the only thing to shut them up might be violence. So I think, yeah,
Just to like
like
keep
straight up.
just be quiet in here.
Yeah. So
Whoa, that's
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Y'all didn't like steal from the local
No,
grocery store or like
no. My sister once, this is how tough she is, once got caught stealing. The police came in and made a big show to scare her, right? Because she was like,
you gonna scare this lady.
yeah. And my mom, Vietnamese, she's pretty scary too, you know?
Yeah.
The police is like, yeah, we're about to arrest her. And my mom, and this is out in the house, the whole neighborhood sees. My mom's like, what do you want? And Susan's like, I don't care. And she's like, oh my God, what do we, what do you
What do
do?
we do with this kid?
Yeah.
Tell him as a bag of
Yeah, no.
God bless you, Susan.
Yeah.
We love you.
Yeah, just
Toughness is awesome. And
yeah, I mean, she
what did they do? Did they take her to jail?
no,
Poor child.
no, I mean, she got released, but she went to the room and she just um she cried, but not in the way I cry. Like I would have been like, like a real show of it. Silent tears, just angry, silent tears just coming out.
Where do you think that anger came from?
She's a Virgo.
I'm a Virgo.
I know. So is my dad.
Oh, Greg.
Yeah.
Me, Greg, and Susan.
Yeah. No.
Ride or die.
Yeah. Yeah. When's your birthday?
September the 12th.
She's September 14th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the anger didn't come from being a Virgo. Where did it come from?
I don't think she ever truly felt loved. I think
From Mimi or Dad?
well, my mother couldn't really show love because she was working all the time, so she's always stressed. My dad and I had a special relationship. We could have deep conversations. My mother's boyfriend, she was with him for 13 years. And he liked me more because, he introduced me to Pink Floyd and I was down with it, and we have these like deep discussions about like what happens after we die in the fourth dimension and all of this stuff. And I'm like 12, he's high, and so like, so I had these relationships that she didn't have. And so she really gravitated toward, the bad kids. And she was huffing paint and she was, just really sad. I got caught with weed, but her punishment for huffing paint and glue was way more severe than me getting caught with weed, right? Like he really didn't enjoy her and convinced my mother to send her off into a mental institution.
That's the boyfriend.
The boyfriend. And basically, and then my sister found out that her boyfriend in the news, nobody told her, I didn't know, but Benny was her boyfriend. He was playing Russian roulette and lost.
What?
Yeah, and she found us out in the midst. So she had it much harder than I did. I was all about rock, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Stealing exams, being a little mischievous and whatever. You know what I mean? But I didn't go through the trauma that she went through.
Well, it sounds like she had her needs around connection and intimacy and love and like that's kind of my next question. I do a bit of a binary here, and one side of that is what does discipline look like? What is what was anger? What was conflict?
Yeah.
And the other side is like, when did you feel a felt sense of love with your dad or your mom?
Yeah.
Did you ever feel, what were you doing and when did that occur?
I mean, I felt loved by both. Like I remember I just really liked reading and my dad would just pour all these books, give me all these books, bought me a typewriter for my, like for Christmas and whatever.
Did y'all do stuff together?
I mean, he encouraged me writing. We didn't really do things together, but he encouraged, I felt seen, right? Because often I felt invisible as a child, right? So, but like being seen as smart even though I didn't make good grades, being seen as like creative made me feel good, you know?
Yeah.
Um yeah. And with my mom, I was just sharing this story. Like she worked all the time. It was really hard for her to show love because she didn't receive love as a child, nor did my father.
Yeah.
Right. So neither one of these parents both come from, they are trauma bonding, although they didn't know it. They came from really hard families, families that didn't really love them or know how to show love. My mom's family was incredibly abusive, and as my father's.
And then put
Then
PTSD on
and
that,
then,
but
but
yeah.
like the war,
Yeah.
right? And so, neither one of them knew how to show love. But one day, my mother came home at 3 o'clock in the morning from third shift. That was her break because she was working third shift,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my friends in my closet. Nobody was allowed to come over, but they were hiding. And I'm like, hey, mom, how's it going? Can I make you a sandwich? Da, 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 da. And my mom was so happy to see me, so kind. She was so relaxed. I'd never seen her relaxed before. She was actually laughing at some of like, at me, but in a fun way, and so her relax was, I felt loved.
You felt loved.
Yeah. She worked so hard, you know, but, I see my mom once a week now. Like I feel love from her all the time,
But
but
when you were a kid, it was scarce commodity.
it was,
I mean, obviously the work that
yeah,
she's doing is love.
right.
This being a breadwinner, making sure the light's on and there's food in the, and that's harder for a child to understand when they just want a felt sense of love, like to connect, to be seen.
It's true. It's true. But then I would almost argue that that is not real love, right? So there's
You say that, what is not real love?
to just be a provider.
Oh yeah.
Do you know?
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I had depression during COVID and I've got two daughters
Mm-hmm.
and I was providing and my dad provided and there was a lack of engagement, a
Mm-hmm.
lack of participation, a lack of
Being present.
the investment in connection is
Right.
paying attention.
Right.
You pay attention.
Exactly.
That's your investment into
That is-
connection and intimacy. Yeah, and I had opportunities then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But your awareness of it now is good.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like I was reading in one of Thich Nhat Hanh's book is that, it was about a couple and he was always working to provide for his love, because he loved her so much. And eventually they got divorced and he's like, how could you do this to me? I did all of this for her. And I was like, well, you didn't water the seeds of connection. You didn't pay attention.
That's paying attention.
Yeah.
That's being present and
yeah.
You could probably work less and
get more.
Be with someone who doesn't care about whatever the fancy stuff, the extra work brings, and be present. Give the love.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, there's a balance. There's a middle way clearly. And what was it like for you in that environment where you seem to have books, you seem to have different things. You were seen by your dad around typewriter, around writing and reading.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that we all have inner child wounds, right? And so, wounds of at some point, no matter how great your parents were, they didn't see you, hear you, or you felt abandoned or at some point, right? And so, and sometimes of those three, the one feels greater, right? And so for me, I didn't feel so much abandoned. That's not my wound. That's my sister's wound is abandonment. My wound is not being seen.
Not being seen.
Right. And so when you take that and you apply it as an adult, and so when I think about the times where I'm getting really getting my feelings hurt for something that looks small but feels big, it's because I'm not being seen. Right.
Not being seen.
So for example, if I'm in a trio conversation and I'm not able to participate as live, then I'm like, they don't see me. I don't even exist. And then it feels bigger than what it is. What it is two people really engaged with each other and not leaving me out because that's the intent or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it feels bigger because I didn't feel seen. So for you, what do you think yours is? What is it, the wound abandonment, not being seen, not being heard?
Question. Abandonment, not being seen or not being heard. Um, I felt lonely.
Yeah, so that would be abandonment,
I
right?
felt lonely.
Mhm.
And on the dad side, it was neglect. Like I
Yeah.
just never felt like no one paid a lot of attention. And
Hmm.
then on my mom's side, it was just the stepdad was,
Hmm.
um, and my mom, they would kind of do this dance of the cycle of violence. They escalate and
Hmm.
they would both rise in intensities where it was just a scary environment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So definitely it feels like, and how does that show up in adulthood?
I think it's, I have a real, I love people.
Hmm.
I love connecting. I love exploring people just like we're
Hmm.
doing here. I love friendship,
Hmm.
and I'm kind of scared of it when it really happens.
Uh-huh.
Almost like, think of this like a Neanderthal
Hmm.
that like wants warmth.
Hmm.
And when he finds fire, he picks it up and it burns him
Hmm.
and it hurts.
Hmm.
And there's a fear of it.
Hmm.
Probably because the caregivers that I had that I relied on for love and affection
Hmm.
also hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I love what you just said because I just realized this about myself. When I get somebody does something nice for me, when I'm seen, I get really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like it when I am seen, and I don't like it when
I'm
I'm
not
not seen.
seen. Yeah.
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 And so I have to, like, in that moment, I have to like, you deserve this. And it could be something so small. Like, I go to Soup Peddler a lot, and sometimes I go there so often they give me an extra shot or maybe a bigger size or the water for free, whatever, right? They'll do something nice. And
Right.
I always leave like feeling uncomfortable. And I don't know why. And I was like, you deserve nice things. Like, you're seen. They see you every day.
Yeah.
It's all good.
They
It's fine.
appreciate it. It's
They appreciate
gratitude.
it's
They're
gratitude,
like
you know?
saying, we're friends with you.
Yes. And I don't really know how to receive it, you know?
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's almost like I guess the worry I have, and you can share how it manifests for you. There's like maybe an awkwardness I have in receiving
Right.
or in being seen. I'm always almost like maybe push it away
Yeah.
or
Because it's what you're used to and it feels more comfortable. Like, so, like the brain. Yeah.
I know what I do. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, no, go ahead.
I like make it trivial or I make it like that they want something from me.
Right.
And they're like just trying to manipulate me to get something. It's
Right.
never genuine. It's never like, oh, they just like me. They
Hmm.
want connection. I
Yeah.
do the same. I anthropomorphize my peppermint, the dog, when she comes and wants probably affection. I'm like, oh, she just wants a treat.
Yeah.
It's this way of transactionalizing everything.
Mhm.
Okay, I interrupted you. Where were we going?
I mean, basically there. I mean, that's, just being uncomfortable when, yeah, just being uncomfortable. Oh, I guess like what I was going to say with the brain is that like because you're used to not receiving it, the brain's like, well, I know how to feel. I know how to feel this emotion.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to process this emotion. And when you introduce something new, even though you want it, like, that's not comfortable. I don't know what to do with this.
Yeah.
So it pushes it away. And I think that is the moment where you speak to your inner child, right? And say, hey, it's totally okay. Peppermint really does want your cuddles. Or,
Yeah.
hey, Linda, Linda, it's okay. You know,
You can have the free water
you
or the
can free
extra
the
shot.
water.
They like you.
They
You're a
like
cool
you.
chick. You
Yeah.
got the Camaro.
Yeah.
You got the
The
typewriter.
Honda Fit now. But yes, right. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you yeah.
You're worthy.
Yeah.
I'm worthy.
Right. Yeah.
We're worthy.
Yes. And so
Intrinsically.
right, right. And just have to remind ourselves.
Oh man. So where did you so next you go to San Marcos? What was your life like you're in San Marcos at Texas State, or were you commuting?
I was commuting, and so I had older friends, and they were all smarter than me, and I wanted to be smart like them, and they all went to college. So I was like, I'm going to go to college, and I'm glad I waited. I didn't go to college until I was 20, and I'm glad I waited, and I loved it, and I thrived because I felt like my intellectual abilities were taken seriously, and not, you know what I mean. We were taught to think and question, and it was a lovely experience. I
So you
loved
had 2 years though.
I
Did you
had
graduate when you're 18 and then
yeah, I had 2 years. Yeah. So yeah.
what'd you do during those 2 years?
Oh, well, I went to Guatemala for the first time. It was my first time out of the
What'd
country.
you do in Guatemala?
I had this wonderful friend, teacher. Her name was Susie. And I say teacher, she was a total slut. But she was the best. So in a way, like,
No slut shaming over here.
I know. I
Okay?
mean that in the most positive way.
Yeah.
And that's not shaming. I think that, like, I want to take that word back, right?
I'm just goofing with you.
Yeah,
But
so-
she was sexually free
She was
and
sexually
had
free.
autonomy and independence and followed her passion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so-
it was a little slutty. What?
Yeah, introduced me to a lot of new things.
In Guatemala,
Well, just in life in general. We won't go to all the things, but she introduced me. She was my teacher. So, but yeah, and then I went to ACC and I found ACC like high school, but with actual.
Wait, where'd y'all go in Guatemala?
We just went I think we followed the gringo trails, they called it, you know.
Is it that the lago, the lake there,
Yeah.
Lake Atitlan?
Yeah, Lake
Where all
Atitlán,
like
Punch,
hippies
Pancha,
and stuff.
yeah.
You went to Simuk Champay? Or
Yeah,
did you
we
go to,
did.
like
Yeah, I-
Tikal?
Yeah, we went to where all the white people were. Yeah, yeah.
We've been there. I wonder if we were there at the same time.
Maybe, I don't know.
Yes.
But yeah, so yeah, I don't know. She introduced me to a lot. So a lot of self-discovery, but college was amazing.
Then you went to ACC?
I went to ACC, did not thrive at ACC.
No, why not?
I felt like it was too easy. It felt like high school. I didn't feel like, it wasn't like what I imagined college to be, right? It didn't have the seats and the professor. I mean, it did, but it felt like a classroom. You didn't feel like college, you know?
Didn't have some characteristic of college that we were looking for.
Yeah. And then it felt kind of easy. And then so I didn't do well.
You wanted to be tested more academically?
Yeah.
Which campus did you go to?
Northridge. And then I went to the Rio Grande campus. Yeah.
That's the cool one. That was the old high school.
The
right?
old high school, yeah.
I went to that one for a little while.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That one actually felt like a college, you know.
It's funny that the one that is a legit high school felt like a college.
Yeah, it did. It had that feeling about it, you know.
Yeah, you like that one.
Yeah, I like that one, but I didn't thrive. I didn't do well. So when I applied to Texas State, I wrote them a long letter begging them, you know, whole sob story. I'm product of the war, Vietnamese, you know.
Greg is,
Did it? Yeah, you know. And
you really wrote a letter. I had to write a letter to get into UNT because they didn't let me in with my grades and whatnot.
Yeah,
but they took that story.
They did.
They let me in. They let you in?
They let me in conditionally. I could not make a C.
I had a condition too. I had to take some class.
Yeah.
Some like preparatory class.
I was like, fine, just get me in the door.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, get me in the door.
Let me in.
Let me in.
And did you make good grades?
I graduated with a 3.5. I'm so uneducated. I don't even know what it's called, but I graduated like 3.5.
Right.
Magna blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So
Magna cum laude or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
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 What'd you study?
History.
You studied history because that's what you ended up
Yeah.
teaching.
Yeah.
You studied history. Was there a part of history that you gravitated to?
American history. And I think because of the Vietnam War, I wanted to understand, and the civil rights movement. Like I said, I was really interested. Like, why was everyone freaking out about busing? You know, why was that a thing? You know, like, and then also like the Vietnam War, like, and then the civil rights movement, and all of that stuff, you know, felt like it was my story. And so I wanted to learn more about it, you know.
What was your college life like? You were commuting down to San Marcos?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was so much fun that it took me like 10 years to get my bachelor's. I didn't want to, you know.
Were you working at the same time?
Yeah. But it was a lot of fun.
When in this story do you first kind of have a tarot reading?
You know, with my mom, but we would get it from Vietnamese people. And
Your mom was a reader?
no. In fact, she doesn't know I'm a reader. She'd be very upset with me.
Really?
Yeah, she doesn't know I do this for a living.
She doesn't have internet?
No, I mean, she doesn't know how to use it. So it's fine. Yeah.
Don't
So
tell him, me.
no, no, don't. But I do have the other practice, Good Thoughts NLP. So,
Well,
she's very.
what would she think if what? So what's there? There's something there with mom and
She
Tara.
doesn't want me to mess with that world, even though, like,
She thinks it's the devil's work.
she might not necessarily that because she's a Buddhist, but she just doesn't want me to tap into that, like bring any bad spirits or anything like that.
You wouldn't do that, would you?
I mean, I think in her world that it would be not my choice.
The demons would the bad spirits would come along
Yeah.
with the because in Buddhism the Four Noble Paths,
Mm-hmm.
the Four Noble Truths, the fourth one is the Eightfold Path,
Mm-hmm.
and part of that is right work.
Mm-hmm.
Is that where she sees it being challenging?
I mean,
Right profession, right?
right. Yeah. And so, but I feel like the work that I do is right work because it's there. I feel like it's therapeutic,
Yeah,
right? I
I
think that,
agree.
yeah, I think that she's worried about bad spirits, for my protection.
I don't understand which is she Theravada Buddhism?
She would not know what to call that. No, but like I think that just like think of Catholicism, right? Catholicism is Christianity, right?
Right.
Even though Catholics don't feel like they feel like Catholics feel like Christian is a separate religion. They really do. And I understand why, right? Because you have a lot of like folklore kind of tied into this Christianity, right? So I think that has thing to do with like her belief system in Buddhism. Like in Vietnam, ancestor work is very, very powerful,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so spirit work is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
So, kind of blending those two folklore, cultural stuff, it's a blend of all of her belief systems,
Yeah.
you know?
And so where did you get that first reading? It was through the Vietnamese angle.
Yeah.
Who was it? The people that came over?
My very, very first reading was by a Buddhist monk
Really?
in Houston named, oh my God. Oh my God. Why can't I remember his name? Because he's Cochin. Buddhist monk Cochin, and he has a temple. He still exists out there. And if you go, you have to get there early, like around 4 in the morning. The line starts. He sees people for free. He'll see up to 80 people a day.
Really?
Yeah, and by the 80th person, he's done. And he does it very, very fast. And
Very fast?
yeah, he just spews. Like he just says. Like
He pulls cards and then
yeah, but it's like he may pull cards, he may not. It's just up to him.
whoa.
Yeah.
Do you remember your first reading?
Yeah, he said it was so fast and so good, but basically he said that basically he said I was gonna have a great life, and so not to worry. But
So Buddhist.
yeah.
What if he's just doing that 80 times?
Right, probably. But
You're going to have a beautiful life and you shouldn't worry.
he said he did say that my husband asked him, is my husband going to be a firefighter? I said yes. And I said, okay, well, we're going to get married next year. He's like, no, this year. You're going to get married this year. And oh no, I think that was my mom's question. But anyway, he was right. My mom said that my mom asked him, is my daughter going to get married? And he said, yes, she's going to get married this year. And my mom said, no, next year. He's like, no. And he yelled at her, this year. And then, turns out that I got not so stressed out. I'm just like, oh my God, throwing a wedding is hard. I don't want to do that. Let's just elope. And so we got married 2 months later.
This year.
He
was right.
He was right. Yeah. And recently I saw him because my mom had an illness, and it was just such a strange experience. But because I'm Vietnamese, I could go on Tuesday, and it says line shorter. And but then they saw that I didn't speak Vietnamese, and they're like, "Oh, you're not really Vietnamese," So you have to come back tomorrow and wait in line. I'm like, "Oh my God."
You're trying to play that Vietnamese card.
Well, no, they asked me if I was Vietnamese. I said yes. And so, okay, you can come on Tuesday. And so I showed up on Tuesday, and they said, oh, you're not really Vietnamese. But I'm like, oh my God, I am.
I am Vietnamese.
Why is everyone trying to tell me what I am? And But luckily, they said, okay, he said, wait here and he will talk to your mom on the phone. And he drives up in his car and he tells my mom, he tells her all the things that are wrong with her. He says, like, he's like to the T. And mom, and he tells her like to do like light through a candle all the way down and you're going to have a long life. How he knew, like, what was going on with her. He's like, you have intestinal problems. There's something wrong with your stomach. You have a hard time like sleeping at night because of your stomach. And he's like, but it has more to do with your heart. It's not your stomach. Well, he was right. It
No
wasn't.
way.
Yeah, she had a Buddhist stent in her heart. He's like, you're gonna live to 83, and she's like, oh my god, that's too long. He's like, yeah, but you live to 83.
Why does she think that the cards bring evil spirits if she's going and getting these readings from the Buddhist?
I don't know.
The Mimi works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. Don't question Mimi. Yeah.
Don't question Mimi.
Don't question Mimi.
Except for the Buddhist guy could. This year.
And he was right. He was right. So yeah. I mean, he's no joke. He's good though. His whole thing is like, your ego is not your amigo.
Where do I see him? If I want to see him,
it's in Houston. If you look up Cochin, Caochin, get there early. Bring some water. Bring a chair. Stand in line.
when does he start seeing people?
8 in the morning.
But if you want to be there,
You got to get there about 4 or 5 hours early.
what?
The line is long.
He's
Yeah.
popular.
Yep. Master Coach. Most of his clients are Hispanic. Yeah.
So, did you still identify with the Hispanic culture?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
You still do now?
Yeah.
Is your husband Hispanic?
No, he's a white guy, but most of my friends are Hispanic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, how can you not be how in Texas not have some blending of that culture into your life? You know what I mean?
Glad I could see.
Yeah, it's we're on their land, you know?
I mean, well, there's the
They were trying to block white immigrants from coming, right? With the Texas whole, the Mexican American War.
yeah.
They're like, there's too many of them coming into, Tejas, which was Mexico, right?
Yeah.
There's too many of them. They're not becoming Catholic. They're bringing in their slaves. We're not down with that. Like, we're going to limit white settlers. And that's when that, like, yeah.
Well, you go a little bit. I mean, I'm not. You go a little bit earlier than that. You had a lot of First Nation folks that
Right,
were,
of course,
that
yeah.
were here
Yeah.
before the Spanish and the Spanish Mayan kind of
Yeah.
mezcla would come over and just said, "Oh, this is ours."
Mhm.
So I guess there's a whole, before Europeaners were fighting over it, there was a whole nother group that was here
Yeah.
that you see there when you go to McKinney Falls.
Mm-hmm.
There's areas where those people were
Mm-hmm.
setting up camps.
Mm-hmm.
Before this place was all underwater before that.
That's crazy. Yeah.
That's why you see like fossils in
Mhm.
some of the rocks.
Mhm.
Enchanted Rock, or if you go to
Even if you go to Onion Creek, where the dogs, like the dog
yeah,
park there,
you can
find
see
fossils
fossils.
there.
All this stuff was underwater.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's fascinating.
Mhm. Yeah.
So when did it become something you invited into your life on a regular basis?
Tarot?
Yeah.
I'm a girl, right? And so like
What does that mean?
so
I'm a girl.
I'm a girl. So like
I had girl lunch.
it starts with like high school or junior high or middle school, whatever you want to call it.
You're
And
doing
like,
girl talk now. That's the girl tone.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh my god, I love him so much. I wonder what his sign is. And then you like learn the astrology and like who's your best mate, and like, is it in the stars? It's just really just a way for us to kind of control our destinies.
Mm-hmm.
And then you kind of get into tarot, and I started seeing like There's only one tarot reader other than Coach Chen that I really enjoy, and she's still alive, and she lives in Austin. She's in South Austin, Slaughter Lane. Her name is Peggy. And once I found her, I went to her maybe 2 or 3 times, actually 3 times, maybe 4, um, before I became a tarot reader because I needed somebody to talk to. I didn't like I was going through a hard transition in my
Mm-hmm.
life,
Mm-hmm.
and her guidance was really helpful. So I think it's important, important work. If you can be a tarot reader and help somebody really gain some clarity,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's something that they don't want to hear, it's important. I've also seen tarot readers that just double down on the negativity, and I was like, I don't like that. I don't like feeling bad, when I'm already feeling bad, So,
Yeah.
no, I'm not saying it has to be a positive read, but I'm just saying that there's a certain amount. If you can deliver the message with some wisdom, is nice,
Yeah.
So
Death card's not always about death.
death is about rebirth, right?
Rebirth.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
how did you develop your style? Because you have a style of reading, the way that you incorporate NLP, the way you incorporate Buddhism. How did that come to unfold? Did you have any mentors?
Um, you know, I would say Peggy, like I loved her style of reading, even though she just used one deck. But there's a woman that I follow on YouTube, and her channel is called White Feather Tarot,
Mm-hmm.
and she implements oracle cards and multiple decks. And I was like, that's fucking cool.
Oracle cards is the
Archetypes, oracles.
that's an oracle
Yeah.
deck.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of what you're doing, where you're implementing an oracle deck and your tarot deck.
Yeah.
And why do you think it's cool? What do you like about it?
I think that like when you have all these multiple decks that the illustrations can really speak to somebody, or they're like in the archetype deck that's happened recently where father came out and the querent, the client was my father just passed, and then so you know what I mean, and so something like resonates,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of like it just I don't know. I mean, it's the message that you needed to hear in that moment. And because the illustrations might be different or and whatnot, then it might speak to you differently,
Yeah.
So yeah, so like let me just pick up this one. Like the sun card, this is a beautiful sun card, right?
Always a positive card.
Always a
Right?
positive card, but then we have but to me this is more like an energetic card. In the Rider Waite deck is a baby, on a horse, and that's very positive. But this is a woman, right? And you see all these photons, and the photons are,
It almost looks like a sunflower.
yeah, absolutely. It's a sunflower, and the energy of photons, lighter. I mean, there's so much like let me get another card.
What does that mean to you? Let me see the sun card.
Yeah.
Which deck is this from?
The Sightseers deck.
That is beautiful. It's a sunflower, and there's some kind of energy flowing out of the middle of it, and there's this dancing with jubilance and just freedom, almost ecstatic dancer.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's just that different cards read certain things differently. And I like that.
From different decks, you mean?
Yeah.
Like the Rider-Waite-Smith deck versus the Thoth or
Like
the
so this one, nobody likes the Three of Swords, right? And so if you look at the Rider-Waite deck, it's 3 swords and a heart. And it represents a lot of pain, but in the Rider-Waite deck, the heart's still intact. This heart's being torn apart.
yeah, and being stitched back together. It seems like
Yeah.
it's being torn apart, and it looks like it's been put back together a couple times in the past.
Yeah. Yeah.
Linda, I love this aspect of tarot. The first thing I tend to do is I do this myself. I just look at the card.
Yeah.
And I think about what I feel about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. This Sage of Cups is this is from the Gay Tarot, and the Sage of Cups is the King of Cups. And so when you think of the King of Cups, it's a really positive card, but that doesn't look super positive.
Yeah, they look angry.
Right. And then like there's a guy in the
Holding
middle.
them back, yeah.
Yeah. And
Almost like a
so,
bar fight where someone's holding two people back that really.
right, right. And so sometimes like this card will pop up when people are having who are trying to repair a relationship
Mm,
and maybe couples therapy, like like a mediator almost, you know?
yeah.
But there's still love there. And so that card reads differently than a King of Cups. So I like the different art
You like
imagery.
which is where like a Marseille deck
Yeah.
where you would just have six swords or,
Yeah.
on a.
It helps the querent understand. You know
I
what I mean?
agree.
Yeah.
Because you're both looking at it
Right.
and you're both talking about what does this
Right.
mean to you?
Right. And so the world card here is
The last
usually
card
the
in the
last
deck.
card.
Yeah.
But like in this deck though, in that one, it's on top of his shoulders. I mean,
Atlas.
yeah. But he's got a very, even though like so you're strong enough to kind of hold on, you know what I mean, to take on the world.
Yeah.
So it can kind of speak, I don't know, I think it can mean different things.
How did you get to that style? Was it this the tarot reader that was online that you got exposed to?
I did just like with practice because while I was doing my Good Thoughts NLP, um, I was a psychic on a psychic hotline, called Purple Ocean, and people are paying by the minute, and so I have to read fast. I have to read really fast, otherwise you
Really?
get really bad reviews. And so I got very good at being very quick. It's a good intuition practice. Like you don't have time to look it up and feel the cards. You have to just say it,
Mm-hmm.
and connect with somebody, not face to face, but on the phone.
How fast was a fast reading?
I mean, I can read. I mean, you saw how fast I read you.
Yeah. It's quick.
Yeah.
I still look through the books.
Yeah.
I read. I have multiple books that I
Yeah.
go to.
And so, but then you're not using your intuition.
Right.
It's like riding a bike with training wheels.
Right.
So I do teach a workshop on how to read cards intuitively.
With intuition.
Right.
Yeah.
And not just rely on the book.
But that's really helpful for folks.
It is. And it's like, okay, we're not looking at anything.
And you got that by people needed it fast. So
Yeah.
you're feeling it and you're just going with your gut, which is intuition.
Right. Yeah. So that's what I try to teach people to do.
And what percentage of your life now is the NLP coaching versus the tarot reading?
I'm trying to, like I would say tarot reading is like 80% and NLP is 20%.
Yeah. Is that a good balance for you?
Yes, because tarot actually pays better.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, NLP got a bad rap with all the pickup artists and the salesmen and dude,
it seems really bro-y too. Yeah.
that's because of the pickup artist and the salesman thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. It depends on which. Did you do the woo-woo version of NLP?
No, I don't think so. I did. I mean, the people who do the INLP Center, they're accredited with the International Coaching Federation, and so they are recognized by another institution. So that was important to me.
So it's probably more psychology.
Is more psychology.
That's the one I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're coming to kind of to land this plane in a bit. Is there anything you feel like we haven't covered that you'd like to?
No, I feel like we covered a lot. This was a lot of fun. Thank you for inviting me. And I can't wait to see how you'll take 2 hours and condense it.
I'm not going to condense it.
You're not going to condense it.
No.
These are 2-hour episodes?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, what I'll do is I'll have the questions. Phails Phive questions will be one separate thing.
Yeah.
And maybe your life story will be one separate thing, and then they'll be in its entirety. But I don't know. I'm still as Rumi says, as you walk along the path, the path reveals itself.
I agree. So I'm hoping that you continue with this because
Well, I think I would like to think folks would be excited to follow these journeys. I know I am.
Yeah.
I sit over here really excited and really, entertained.
Yeah, I know. I feel heard and seen, and I thank you so much. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll look at that camera and then do a little outro real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. This has been Phil Phails at Woo Woo Therapy with Linda O'Neal. Let's wave at him. What up, that middle one? Bye, guys.
Hey.
Yeah. Can I have a hug? Do you hug? You a hugger?
Yeah. I gotta get.
You just that around.
Yeah.
You don't have to sneak out of it.
Yeah. Oh,
Thank you so
thank you so
much.
much. It was a lot
This
of
is so
fun.
much fun.
Yeah. Well, I wish you
Yeah.
all the luck in the world, and I will send you, information.
Yeah, send me all your information
Yeah.
because with all that information, with part of this, I'll, send people to your website and to your,
Yeah.
any ways that they can then find you. That's a part of this. I love the energy exchange of these type of things because I get to meet you and learn from you and grow. And then, I get to point people to you and the folks that you point to it
Yeah.
might find one of my other things and like it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna kind of text you Jay's number from Steak and
Oh,
Eggs.
heck yeah. So I can reach out to them.
Yeah, and